I created this video for the Survival Seeds 2025 collab, which is hosted by the Vineyard Chicks over at BC Family Homestead by Trey and Kayla. Also by Lisa and Jesse over at Lazy Days Ahead, as well as Charles from the Bushcraft family. And since I'm growing in a rather weird container, I'm going to add this to Gail's Southern Living Weird Containers collab. I'm going to show you my way of growing hydroponically in things that I recycled. Today I'm going to show you how I use spaghetti sauce jars to make a mini hydroponic system. I'll use a pool noodle to hold my tomato up, or my plant. In this case, I'm going to use tomatoes. They fit perfectly in the top of a spaghetti sauce jar. And to keep the algae out, I'm going to cover it up with a potato chip bag, of all things. This step isn't necessary, but it sure helps to prevent algae from growing in my jar. First, I measure the potato chip bag so that I don't have too much extra. And I fold it over to create a crease for a cutting line. Then I cut it to the correct length. Looks like I have enough to get 2 of them out of this bag, so I'm going to cut them right away. First I make my crease, and then I cut along the crease. I like to get my tape ready ahead of time. After checking, I see that I've got more than I need to go around the jar. So I'm going to cut this part off. I'll just keep my tape ready on the back of my hand here. First I crease it, and then I cut it off on the crease. I like to keep the silver part on the outside. It looks a little prettier. But you do you. That's a better fit. I like this duct tape from the Dollar Tree. It holds up for a couple of years. I've got some outside that I taped up 2 years ago, and they're still holding strong. I take the elastic off of this face mask I'm no longer using. I'll just tie it around the top here, and it'll hold it snugly. I like to pull it really tight so none of the sunlight gets in there. Then I trim the ends short. As you can see, it's a bit taller than it needs to be, so I'm just going to use my scissors and cut along the top of the rim of this jar to remove what I don't need. And it's all ready to plant in. As you can see, the water is starting to turn green here. I didn't use a potato chip bag on it. But on this one I did, and you can see the roots are nice and clean. I'm going to plant this birdie wand. See, the seeds sprouted, germinated too. I tried to put one in each container, but two of them germinated. But when I was sick, I let things dry out for a while, and some things were lost and some things were just barely surviving, like this one. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is kind of dig it out with something pointy. I have a pair of scissors. I don't want to hold it by the stem. I want to hold it by the first leaves, but they fell right off. So I am going to hold it by these delicate leaves. I'm going to pull it by the stem for now. And I'm going to put it in this here container of water to get all of the coconut coir off of it, holding it really gently. Now the pool noodle fits the top of the jars perfectly, but it's got that big hole in the middle. So I like to use a cotton ball, actually just a half of a cotton ball. Cut it in half. So we don't want the cotton ball to get wet at all. I'm going to try and get everything off of the stem of this poor little baby tomato plant, barely surviving. And I'll keep this cotton ball kind of flat and wrap it around gently. Now, I normally would fill it up to this line where the label meets, but since it's so tiny, I'm not going to do that. You can see where the stem comes out there. So I need the water level to be about that. Well, to be a little above that line. So I'll put it at the top of this jar. So I kind of filled it up to the neck, and I just want to make sure that the root touches the water when I put the lid on. Well, I can see that that little bitty root actually touches the water when it's this deep, and there's about a 1/4 of an inch space there for it to have, for the air roots to grow. But I want it in this bottle so that the darkness keeps the algae from growing. So I'm going to fill it into here and add it to the top of this one. I want to keep that cotton above so air roots can grow in that, and there's barely any leaves there. So that's all we have to it. Okay, so I have my cotton ball inside the hole holding up the little tiny tomato, and there's a little root hanging down. Put it in this bottle, which doesn't have a label on it anymore, and make sure that that root actually is going into the water at that level. Then I'm going to take it out of this jar. I know the water here, I wouldn't be able to see it if I put it in here. So we'll put all of the hydroponic liquid. This isn't just water, it's nutrient solution. And put it in here until that root meets the water and it's all set. So this one is called a black patio. I did part of this video showing a birdie wand, and I also did part of the video showing a, what is it? Another variety. Oh, the other variety was called a candy berry. It sounds like it's going to be a sweet one. They grow to be about 10 inches tall, and they have red tomatoes. And the birdie wand grows to be about 8 inches tall, and it will have yellow cherry tomatoes on it. The day before I got sick, I planted this Roma tomato in this jar, and it was about that size, and now it's ready to transplant. I'll pretend that I have solution in this, but I'll show you how easy it is to transplant. I didn't use a cotton ball at that time. Kind of made a bit of a seeds now. But after filling this container, I would put it in there. I'm kind of hoping my daughter will take it home. We can put it in soil. For now, it's staying in this jar. She should come over soon. But that's how easy it is to transplant from hydroponics. And a microdwarf tomato could live its life in a container about this size. In fact, these are pretty much perfect for growing a microdwarf tomato. They say you don't have to stake them, but I do. So there we have it. My weird container for today is an empty spaghetti sauce jar. And by wrapping it with a potato chip bag, it works pretty good. Some of the microdwarfs will grow their whole life in a jar this size. They're actually small enough. And others I'll put in a container like this, and I will add a stake that I tape to the outside of the container. In this bottle, I have a little hole where I can add solution without having to move the plant. And this is actually one of the few surviving survival seeds tomato. When I fill a bottle like this, I try not to fill it above the label because it needs room for the air roots. When it grows in hydroponics, it grows these little short, they look a little wet right now because I just filled it. But these roots actually take in air. You don't want to have those underwater or you'll drown your plant. That's why I only fill it up about as far as the label.